Hey everyone, welcome back to another Cats and Rats After Dark. I'm your host, Kirby Lupo, joined alongside my co-host and producer today, Big C's, Caesar Lucero. We're running really late here tonight. We're going with an extra late After Dark. We were trying some technical stuff. Didn't work, of course. So here we are at ground zero. And speaking of which, it's kind of what I felt like watching the Florida Panthers there last night in Calgary. The first time I got to see our Florida Panthers this season. And I felt, no Alexander Barkov. Oh, Anton Lundell not in the lineup here. I'm like, yeah, down the middle of the ice when you're on a long extended road trip, you're on a back-to-back. This is what it's going to look like, and kind of prepared myself for that going in, and that's what happened there, Caesar. But the third period is what we got to talk about. We might not get into it here today, but we might get into it on the Cats podcast, the injury to Niko Mikkola. But we got to talk about the other matter. The AJ Greer hit on Connor Zary. He is going to be having a league hearing here as of Sunday, most likely. It's going to be 5 games or less because it is a phone hearing. So you're seeing a lot of reaction online, Caesar, people being upset. Oh, it's only 5 games. But what is your thoughts on the hit? What do you think?
I love AJ Greer. His adversity, dealing with a lot of stuff throughout his career and being able to finally play a full season with our Florida Panthers this year. I thought he was having a really, really good year. And it's unfortunate because the last 2 games he scored a goal, and he's been pretty good on that fourth line with Nosek. And, I thought that play was really uncalled for. He had plenty of time to let off, and you don't never want to see a guy going into the boards head first. That could be a career-ending injury, and it's unfortunate. And especially with all these Florida Panther haters, you're going to see them out there now on our social medias. Oh, it's same old Panthers, same old dirty Panthers. Here comes all the backlash, and I can't really defend AJ Greer on this one. He definitely this is an uncharacteristic move by him. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 5-game suspension.
Yeah, so the maximum of what he can get with the phone hearing. And I was at the far end of the rink at an elevated position where I could see from the corner out. And it looked like from where I was at, there was more space. And then when I got on social media, it was like, he's already stumbling. Zary's trying to regroup, kind of gather himself. And then Greer gives him that extra push. And it wasn't like a cross check that you normally see. It was higher up. But when a guy is kind of stumbling and trying to gather himself, it became a very scary situation because he was a lot closer to the board than I thought. And then I saw the replay. And then when I got home, saw all the angles on social media. The more that I watched it about 10 times. The more that I watched it, it seemed to get worse and worse because it was like, if he gets his neck cramped there, that can be paralyzation. And you can go from.
Or if his arms are not like above protecting his head.
Yep.
It could be either a career ending or it could even be like life threatening. So you don't want to ever see that from a defender or on the defensive end for that happening. And if we were on the other side of this situation, we'd be upset as well. So it's really unfortunate because I don't see AJ Greer being that kind of a player. And we can kind of talk about how the game just kind of just
I just want to say on that part where Greer pushes him there in the neck region, you usually see a guy around the face-off dot get a push from there, and he'll go into a guy's leg, and you can get an injury, but it's more like a jammed neck. If you're pushing the guy and he's extending towards the boards or going towards the boards, that's where like you can be paralyzed. So it's a lot different where you hit a guy from there in front of the net and his neck or chest hits the crossbar, or he hits a guy's leg, which he can get, like I said, his neck jammed up there. But if it's going into the boards has no give. And that's how hockey has always been. They can make all these different advancements with the carbon fiber and different boards than what they were in the 80s, where you would get your face and, messed up going in there and you lose some teeth on the wall. Your neck, it's not going to have that protection there no matter what boards you're going into. So, didn't like the play. I think it could be anywhere from a 3, 4, 5 game suspension. I know some people out there want more. That's their prerogative. They can have that prerogative. That's
I
fine.
believe 5 is the max that they
Yeah.
could get in the league, right?
Well, with the phone hearing, if it was going to be in person, he could have got a lot more. He could have got upwards of 10, 20 games. I don't know what people want in this regard or what they're going to compare it to with other hits around the league. But again, was it last year or the year before, Nick Cousins hit on Eric Goodbranson, the boarding play behind the net.
All of a sudden,
I didn't like that play. So, yeah, this is another one of these ones that I don't like. I'm not defending, and I think a lot of Panther fans out there are not defending this. But yeah, people still come at us because we're the Dirty Panthers, and we'll see what George Peros and the NHL Player Safety Department.
And if you can kind of look, this is a still shot of the play. You can see his forearm is on the neck, and his right arm is on the bottom of the back. So there's a lot of force going down there. Now he's on the upright position, but like you said, he's on the way coming back up, and that's really unfortunate that Greer had to put himself in that situation. I don't think he was embellishing um, the Calgary player. I just feel like Greer I think he knew what he was doing in that situation. Do I think it was purposely that he was trying to get him on the ground? No, I don't think it was on purpose, but you don't want to see that play in general.
Yeah, and no, good point there, Caesar. And again, people are trying to determine how the league can discipline these type of plays, and they're saying bigger guys. We've heard it with Matt Rempe and the Rangers. I don't know if you could say it's because a big guy and he goes into a little guy. That's very hard to determine that type of stuff. You have to determine it case by case. You can't be like, oh, well, this big guy is burying this little guy, so therefore he could hurt him, and it could be more games. I've heard a lot of different things out there. For example, if Greer went at a guy that's like, Zari's size or even a little bit smaller, you got to determine it by the play itself, not by the size discrepancy of the two players. And again, I don't like this play regardless if this was a bigger guy, a lighter guy, and Zari's a little bit on the smaller side. But again, he was trying to gather himself, and Greer didn't have to do that. And he had enough time to acknowledge to not do something like that, if you want to call it premeditated or however far you want to go down that path. You just can't make that play. And I'm assuming that everyone will be on the same side of this.
Yeah, and you can see how much room he had between him and the boards, too. I mean, it's a good 3 feet there. So, you had a chance to pull up, and you can kind of see he had plenty of time to think about it. You can kind of see here is when he started thinking about it, and then all of a sudden, right there, makes the decision to push him. So very unfortunate, like you said. We'll find out more tomorrow on what the deal is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is a 5-game suspension.
Yeah. Moving on, what other Panther stuff did you want to kind of talk about here, Caesar, before we...
Let's talk a little bit about your experience yesterday. First time going to a Panther game since last year, Kirby. Talk about, you said that, I know we talked a little bit last night on the game, and you said you saw a lot of Panther fans there. So
yeah,
how was that experience, after winning 2 Stanley Cup champions and then seeing Florida there for the first time?
Yeah.
Winning the second cup.
Yeah. I would say, like, even into last year after winning the first cup, you're seeing so many Panther fans. There are hundreds and hundreds you used to see in Western Canada. You could say Western United States, you'd say maybe like 10, 20, 30 Panther fans. Here in Calgary, you're seeing hundreds and hundreds. And I don't know what the accumulation of it is. Obviously, winning, younger kids are going to fall in love with a team that is going to be successful. I did the same when 96, and we'll talk about that a little bit later with you, Caesar, in your upcoming show. Obviously fans gravitate towards winning and stuff. And where I was shooting here, there's people down here about 2-3 rows here. And then to your right here on the video, it wraps all the way around. And even the other side is where Matthew Tkachuk gave someone a puck. So I had to leave.
I saw that. I think they traded for like a bag of candy. The kid had a sign. It was a bag of candy for a puck. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
The Scooby snacks or whatever, the little fruit snacks here. So yeah, I had to leave this after warmups, and I had to go about a section or two over from where you can see her. So the benches are just to the left here. When I had to go up the stairs, I literally had to take 60 to 90 seconds to get up those flight of stairs, which are about 15, 20 stairs, because of the accumulation of people that were down there in warmups. And I've never experienced that. I'm usually there for the warmups. I might have missed the odd one through the years, but it's never to this magnitude. We're talking, it's getting to the levels of what Alexander Ovechkin gets on the road, a Sidney Crosby. I'm not going to say maybe quite that, but you're talking about top 5, top 8 fan crowd. Especially that's emerging within the NHL. And you're going to get that with winning, right? Because I've been there with other teams, and it's a sleepy night against a Minnesota. I was there with San Jose a few years back when they had Erik Karlsson. And you're going to get always fans around the glass. But now it's like this is captivating the fan base. Obviously, former Flames fans or Bennett fans, Tkachuk fans have kind of transferred over to that. There's a lot of different reasons. Calgary right now is not a good hockey team. So you start to get people weighing away from the home product and jump on board with someone else, in this case, Florida, that we're seeing here last night. So, yeah, it's an experience. I want to see some of these fans obviously be retained. I've seen it in the past season where fans were fans of Roberto Luongo when he got traded. You know, they moved on from the Panthers, went to be Canucks fans or went to be Ovechkin and Capital fans. So I would love these fans that, you know, are not residing in South Florida to be Panther fans long-term here moving forward. And I think also, Caesar, another thing, it was March, nice weather, went in my shorts.
So you were kind of Florida dressed.
Yes, right. And I think I didn't talk to anyone this time, but I did last year talk to a gentleman from Fort Lauderdale, and he moved just recently to Calgary. But I think a lot of people travel from the South Florida area to this trip now, especially to see the Edmonton Oilers. You have the Seattle Kraken in the Pacific Northwest. So people are making this trek, and they're going on this 4-game road trip quest now that's probably going to be in Seattle, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. Used to see it in Winnipeg. That trip's cut out, and that's a little bit harder for people to manage. If it was in Winnipeg, you're going 2 provinces over to the east, and then you're coming all the way over to the west, and then if you want to go down to Seattle, that's a trek. So I think the trip to Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton is pretty manageable if people can afford that with their budget and have enough time off for that trip, because it's going to usually be a week or, you know, at least a week 7-day trip. So again, not much to expect from the game. I was having a hard time tracking all the new Panthers out there, and then the Flames players, they got a lot of new players in the lineup too. So I'm just like looking all over the ice. Who's this guy? Who's that guy? So it wasn't an easy game to track numbers and things like that. Like, you know, Benning's in his, you can see Benning out there. He's a little bit smaller. Reinhardt, I was really impressed with, skates pretty well. Cole Reinhardt, new Florida Panther.
I really like his speed. And Hinostroza's speed. I think they bring a new element that we've been missing on that 4th line. I know they're playing 3rd line minutes, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think of those players potentially being back maybe next year competing for a roster spot? Do you bring them back, or do you go out and get something similar to that?
Yeah, I was talking with my co-host Cody and Nick off air, and they were saying, you know, Hinostroza might not get a crack with the Panthers, but he should get a crack with someone in the NHL. So I think he's making that case now. And if he finishes out strong here, that'll be the case. I think it'll be a numbers game with the Panthers. How many injuries do they have going into the offseason? How healthy are guys going into training camp? That could kind of squeeze Hinostroza out of a spot, unfortunately. Cole Reinhardt, have to look at his deal and everything like that on Puckpedia. I'm not sure how much years he has left on his RFA status or what have you. Obviously claimed off of waivers. He's a potential that could find a spot on a 4th line. You know, if the Panthers can't come to an agreement with AJ Greer, or they lose another player in the offseason from their depth.
Do you think the suspension has anything will hinder Greer's contract talks or anything like that, or is it just something that Bill Zito will just push under the rug, pretend nothing happened?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue, and I don't think it's usually an issue with any players across the league. It only starts to be an issue, what you saw with the Toronto Maple Leafs back 6-7 years ago, 8 years ago, when Nazem Kadri kept getting suspended. And then they get to the end of the rope with him and say, we're not bringing him back. And then Leaf fans are upset because, hey, we need that type of player in our lineup. We no longer have him. But you sometimes have to come to those tough decisions. I don't think because of this AJ Greer isolated suspension here, they're going to come to a tough decision. They're going to decide what they were going to normally with him. And whatever those contract numbers will. So I don't think that suspension will come into play.
Perfect. Now, I know yesterday's game was not a pretty sight to see, especially you being there, seeing all these new acquisitions or players on the ice, guys coming from the AHL playing, Lundell not playing, obviously, and a couple other players.
Yeah. Sam Reinhart,
Dan Reinhart. Oh my gosh.
Gustav Forsling was on the
Gustav.
lineup. So yeah.
What did you think of the Mikkola play? I know you were on the. You said it happened on the other side from your end. Did they show the replay? And immediately, what did you think when that happened?
Well, yeah, no, it actually happened in front of me, but I didn't have a great vantage point of it. I looked down for a second and I kind of missed the collision, and I saw the tail end of the collision with Erod, and I was more looking at that, and I was like, oh, what happened there? And then I'm looking kind of a little bit below me because I'm up on the second level, and I'm like, oh, I think that's Mikkola. He's not getting up. So I saw him moving around quite a bit, and you and I were talking about it. Again, I haven't seen any reports today on the injury, so my mistake if something is out there or something has been reported. But again, I thought there was some movement on him on the ice, and I was like, okay, that's good. But when he got up, like, obviously couldn't put any weight on it. But I saw him moving around a bit and trying to get comfortable, move to his side, kind of move onto his butt. I was like, that could be something good, because if it's the knee, you're usually not moving or rotating or anything like that. So I was like hoping for the best there, that it wouldn't be anything serious like a total ACL, MCL, because that's what it looked like originally when he wasn't getting up. But then I saw him moving around, and I saw the trainer spend a little extra time with him on the ice, and I was like, okay, they're not mobilizing him or anything like that, or So I don't know. I don't want to play doctor here, but
Yeah.
again, I'm hoping for the best here, and it's something that maybe is like in a grade 1 or grade 2 range, where it's not going to require extensive surgery, where now we're looking at, okay, we have another guy over lineup all summer. We don't know what his status will be come the fall. I think that's the worst case scenario here, Caesar, when we're playing these meaningless hockey games.
Yeah.
And again, a freak incident there. I think it's incidental contact. Not a lot of great replays that I saw there.
Usually, and kind of like to go to your point as well. Watching like sports throughout like the last couple of years, just you usually see that kind of like injury where the knee buckles inwards when in baseball, when base runners are running on base and their knee kind of like bends backwards sort of. Usually that's more of like the MCL or like a hyperextension knee. And like hopefully good news is that it's only a hyperextended knee and it's nothing too serious on the ligament side. But like you said, we don't want to play doctor here. It did look pretty bad, looked significant. Hopefully everything is better than what it seems. So I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate, and it kind of like watching that play while I was working. I was like, man, that's just a what the Florida Panther season's been like. It's like um, the guy ends up just turning around. All of a sudden, there's Mikkola, and they both collide, and it was definitely not a dirty hit. Just Mikkola being at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, you see those hits in hockey when one guy's turning up the ice, the other guy's going south, and you just have that, head-on collision or whatever, or knee on knee, which is even worse, where you kind of catch something there, head on head. We've seen that with Tarasenko and Ekblad there, where they knock knees, and Ekblad was out for a couple weeks on that one. We were talking about that one off air, Caesar. It's just kind of a freak accident. Sometimes one guy more to blame than the other, but again, this one it was a mess, because Erod ran into a guy, and then Mikkola kind of clipped. And when Mikkola got clipped there, it was like, well, that's me, right? And that's worse than kind of catching a guy head on and
Yeah.
kind of coconuts, or you hit one guy's head hits some guy in the chest, you get winded or whatever, but then that player comes back out on the ice, that you often see, right?
And I think this is the frustrating part, I guess, as Panther fans. You don't want to see us like putting just guys out there just to put guys out there, because I think that's where you get into trouble when you put in players that don't know what they're doing. It leaves all older guys or veterans out there in vulnerable position,
Yeah,
where if this guy's not in the right place at the right time,
yeah.
well then your veterans are going to be in a position where they either get hurt or they're in a position where they don't know what to do. And it's unfortunate because we're in that position right now where Paul Maurice is trying to juggle his lines, trying to juggle his lineup. I got to rest this guy because he's playing so many minutes, and then I got to put this guy. And
Yeah.
man, you feel
Like,
for Paul Maurice and the organization because it's like,
yeah.
what do you do here? What do you do?
And Florida is one of those unique situations where most of the teams at this end of the year, which we're seeing here at the bottom of the screen, are tankathon updates here and results. You're seeing some of these teams down there
We're in eighth place, right?
that are not kind of where the Panthers are right now in their winning track right now, right? Like what the Rangers are doing, for example. Toronto, that's debatable. But with the Panthers, it's like you've got these guys coming in and out of the lineup where a team like Calgary that they just played, they're trying to look at what they have for youth and new players. And it's exciting because you're seeing which guys are, and you hope, you're not going to get injured, have injuries here. But if guys don't know what they're exactly doing, that's fine because you're trying to figure out what you have. With the Panthers, it's like you're trying to give some of these guys rest, but you can't give them all rest. And then you've got them out there in kind of meaningless hockey, and you lose one of your key top four defensemen here. Hopefully not too long term, but most likely for the season here, you would potentially think here. And then you're like, well, now he's going into the off season and he has to do rehab or recovery or potential surgery. Hopefully not, but maybe. And again, you don't want to be in those situations when you're trying to win as a hockey team going into next year. But it's a tough situation for Paul Maurice because you can't ice all AHL and ECHL lineup out there, right?
No, and it's unfortunate too for Mikkola because I think he had his best game against Edmonton. Him and Seth Jones, those were the two best defensive pairings on the ice, and we haven't seen that since what game two of this season. Paul Maurice said that's like the best lineup we've had since game two. So, man, it sucks. We hope nothing but the best for Mikkola. And I'm kind of just ready to end the season already. Let's just end it. Don't want to see any more guys get hurt, and I think this is where our players have to be careful. Don't like play at 100% still, because anytime you kind of loaf it,
Hey,
things
JC.
like this happen, right?
Yeah. JC here with us in the late night hours. We're going to mention after a commercial break here coming up soon on our newest giveaway. Thanks to JC in our community here, the Nick Bukestad jersey. We'll name that a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Anything else there before we move on here, Caesar?
No, we're gonna go to, I believe,
the World Cup of Hockey venues announced. I just want to mention this briefly. It's a great segue into what I was just talking about with the Panthers being in Calgary. So Calgary, Edmonton, and Prague, Czech Republic will be hosting the upcoming World Cup of Hockey here in a couple seasons. That will be the Calgary Flames' new arena. I did get a peek at it yesterday. I didn't go all the way over. It was about 2-3 football fields over from where I was. It's looking like great progress right now. The Flames will be playing in their old arena, their original arena, their current arena, the Saddle Dome for one more season, and then they will be moving into the new arena. I don't know if it has a name yet, but it will shortly here. And then Edmonton will be hosting, I believe, the semifinal finals at Rogers there. Obviously, probably the best rink in the NHL currently. In Prague, will be hosting, I believe, round robin games is how that is going to work out. I'm not sure on the playoff side if there'll be quarterfinal games over in Prague, but they will convene all over North America, in Western Canada, in Edmonton for the semifinal and finals, I believe. So you'll probably have some type of Pool B system, which I don't know if it'll consist of all European teams yet, Caesar. That will be over there in Prague, but obviously some, rivalries to Czechia, depending on which teams are going to be in this tournament. We still need to find out. With Russia, it's not looking like Russia right now. And then you're thinking in the North American side, I would think maybe Canada and USA would be in the same group. That would draw a lot of revenue and a lot of buzz for, a round robin matchup, not having, say, the USA over in the Prague group, right? So I think they'll probably be in that group, but you can't really call it a North American group either. I think there'll be, upwards of 8 teams in this tournament, where we saw it 4 nations, obviously just the 4. And then you want to have that kind of balance from where the Olympics was. to
Yeah.
where the World Cup was. Before they've had Team Europe, they've had Team North America. They're probably not going to go with that kind of gimmick, even though I thought it worked out all right in the last World Cup there. Again, you're going to have maybe like Germany in there. Obviously, what Slovakia did in the Olympics is going to raise the antenna of the
Yep.
NHL here. And this is an NHL sanctioned event. So we're going to be going with the 5-on-5 overtime,
So
which
yeah, I was gonna
I
say
was a
the
big fan of.
NHL rules in the World Cup of Hockey.
Yeah.
So it will not be 3-on-3 in the championship game. It's gonna be normal Stanley Cup playoff rules. So 5-on-5 overtime in the championship game, but in the playoffs, I believe it's the 3-on-3 still.
Yeah,
And
in the round robin qualification, whatever you want to call that, I believe it's still 3-on-3, and if it doesn't end in 3-on-3 in 5 minutes, I'm guessing it'll go to a shootout, just like in the NHL. So that's fine. I was fine with that in the round robin qualification, and I understand in 2010 when Canada won, it was 4-on-4. I do get that. I'm just a big proponent of 5-on-5. You know that, Caesar, from my Panthers content, hosting. All these games that have gone to triple overtime, 4 overtimes. I love that. I live for that. It's what I grew up watching.
yeah,
Staying up as late as I can. I'm a night owl, and letting my parents let me stay up. And it wasn't even the Panthers then. They couldn't even make the playoffs. It was Pittsburgh and Washington, or Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, Anaheim and Dallas, Anaheim and Detroit. I remember like a lot of these long marathon overtime games. Growing up as a young child, growing up as a teenager, and just loving that hockey, like wishing my team can be in those games. And the Panthers have been, and now we'll get to see in the World Cup. Maybe it'll come down to that again. And what drama this Olympics was, of how close these games and contests were. Some of these underdog teams giving a good fight in a lot of these games, and you get the final that pretty much everyone wanted in Canada and USA. So again, we'll see how it plays out in the World Cup. But people are like, oh, we're going to do this every 2 years and Olympics every 4 years. Yeah, hell yeah, because we've
yeah.
been waiting
I mean,
for
this
this
is
for 12 years.
I wouldn't mind having this every year, a tournament, a North American tournament between Canada and US and a couple other nations, rather than the All-Star, the NHL All-Star. I feel like the NHL All-Star game has become a gimmick, and people don't really find that entertaining anymore. And but then you look at it the other end of it, and you're like, well, we're afraid the players are gonna get hurt,
It's a lot.
especially.
It's a condensed schedule, so like having that
Yeah,
1 year off in between can kind of help. They might
which
look to
we're
alter
gonna
that.
kind of get into a little bit later because the NHL GM meetings were this past week. But yeah, if they're willing to have different, like, these competitions, there's got to be some give here where they reduce the NHL games, and they're talking about adding
Yeah.
adding 2 more games, and then plus this competition. That's a lot on these players.
It is, yeah. And I don't want them to reduce it to 68 games or 70 games, but if they
Hell
could
no.
reduce it to a couple, I get that. I'm kind of a historian where it kind of would affect the record books, but then you also look back, there wasn't always 82 games. There was less games, I think, back in the 70s, and I think even into the later 80s.
Yeah.
So again, you can go back to where, a few lesser games, but again, the NHLPA, the guys don't want that because they want the money too, and the owners want the gate revenue and all that. So it's not like one side is battling the other on this. It's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it's like if they take less games away, that's less money in the owners' pockets and less money for the players on their next contracts and things like that, you would think as well. And they might not want that. So they want to try to make it work. And the top players want to play in these best on best situations.
I agree, and it's definitely something that we all want to. So it 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 all depends on what the revenue is. It's all about money nowadays. It's all about money. It's how the NHL is growing, and we can see that it's growing since the last couple of years. And I think the league had a big hit during COVID, and I mean, you can say that about a lot of leagues and stuff, but I think this is the highest it's been in a long time that I can remember, Kirby. So
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting to seeing the game grow the way it is, and we thrive on these competitions, especially here on our Cats and Rats podcast. When we stream these games, getting these fans to come out and listen to us while we're live streaming. It's so much fun, and the competitive side of it. just makes it all worth it for sure.
Yep. We're going to miss that this year with our Panthers not going to be in the NHL playoffs, but we will be here live streaming NHL playoff games. We're letting you guys all know that. Closer to the start of the first round, we'll let you guys know our schedules, but we will be posting here. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to hit that on the Big C's channel as well. We'll put that at the bottom there. But do we want to go to break here, Caesar?
Yeah, let's go ahead and put in our break here. Let's hear from a word from our sponsor, Caneswear.
Panthers fever is here. Are you geared up? Caneswear in Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Caneswear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or at pantherswear.com. Again, that's pantherswear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.
And another word from our great sponsor, Jeremy Beckham. Hey, Panther fans in South Florida need real estate help? Check out Jeremy Beckham with Next Home Treasure Coast. It's a boutique service with a personal touch. Jeremy and his team put humans over houses, working hard for you, whether you're buying or selling. Ready to move? Hit up BeckSellsFLA.com or call 772-475-5371. Now you'll be glad you did. Sorry about that. And we have another announcement here, as I mentioned and alluded to earlier there, from our guy JC, who is graciously donating this jersey. This is for all of our gold members here. We're going to probably give this away next week. So this is about the final week here for you guys to be eligible here. So if you are a gold member or you want to upgrade to be a gold member, which I'll explain here in a minute, please thumbs up 5 or 10 of our Cats and Rats videos. You do not have to send it in to me or screenshot it to me, but we appreciate you guys giving a thumbs up on those videos. So click on that live tab, click on that podcast tab, and a great jersey here from JC, the Nick Bukestad extra large military jersey here.
I love that.
Yes, it's great. And JC, again, he was on our members only show. And if you guys haven't checked out our members only show with JC, make sure to check it out. I think it was episode 2 of the members only stream. And he gives a good tour of his whole den and all of his collectible stuff. And this is from his collection. So we want to give a shout out there to JC. We'll probably announce that next week. So make sure to be eligible. Make sure you are gold member subscribed. You can subscribe to our channel, like this video, comment on this video, helps with our algorithm. You can purchase a super chat donation anytime we're live. So that's on After Dark. That's on our post-game shows. That's when we're live streaming games. Shout out to our guy Cody and Ryan for live streaming that Calgary Flames Florida Panthers game there the other night. This was a little bit of a struggle, but appreciate you guys helping out in the chat and keeping them entertained on that game. And we're going to have more games down the stretch here, maybe 1 or 2 more Panther games. Upgrade your membership. As I mentioned earlier, we have the gold, silver, and bronze. You can gift a membership at any time to a community member and access to many other great perks.
And shouts out to RC for gifting a lot of memberships here. So really appreciate that, RC. Really appreciate you too, as well. So yeah, man, I'm excited. But there has been some heated conversation this week, Kirby. NHL general meetings were this past week, and it already started where the GMs and Gary Bettman have been arguing on a few topics this week. Hearing there was a heated exchange between Gary and the NHL GM. During the GM meetings, the GM said to Gary that it appears the league has relaxed its standards on headshots. Gary was irate with the question, and he blasted the GM. I wonder which GM that would have been.
Yeah, so I found out a little bit more on this, and I think most of our fans might know about this as well in our community. Eric Tulsky of the Carolina Hurricanes, and Gary kind of reportedly got heated at him and said that was coming from the owner, Tom Dundon, of the Carolina Hurricanes, which I think he's looking to sell shares of the Hurricanes right now. So he was kind of getting the message from his owner and passed down, because everyone is saying Eric Tulsky is not that heated of a guy. He's very calm and very calculated and measured. So there's a lot of hearsay going on. I know Michael Russo from Minnesota reported on it, along with Pierre Lebrun from TSN. So again, he wasn't happy with headshots or certain things that have happened. I think Seth Jarvis took a high hit this year. There might have been one with Sebastian Aho as well. So again, they were getting a little heated on that. I thought the main topic would be goaltending interference, which was, and I know when we get our guy Jim Behringer back on here, we'll go more in depth on that. That was something that I said had to be at the front of these meetings, and it was. I said this about 2-3 months ago. I'm like, this goaltending stuff has to be addressed at these GM meetings, and it was. But so was headshots. So was George Peros, who we just talked about earlier with the AJ Greer, suspension impending here. He was questioned from the media. What type of job are you doing here right now? Does this job have to continually consist of you making these calls versus having maybe an overall panel of 5-10 people deciding on this, where he's like the figurehead and he's the guy that everyone looks at when these suspensions come down? Now, I know people work with George Peros and are giving him advice and different things like that, right, Caesar? But again, like, how much input is he taking and receiving, and then what is he kind of giving out as, that punishment? And I think George Peros has been on the job now for 9 or 10 years. I heard it might even be 11. So he's been on the job for a long time, and this is a tough job to be, head of disciplinary. And when is his time going to run out? So, but here's the goaltending interference stuff as well.
Yeah, shouts out to Jim Behringer. Everybody should go check him out at Full Press Media. He did write a nice article about should the NHL adapt the IIHF goalie interference rule. And honestly, at this point, why not? Because we really don't know what the hell is goalie interference anymore. It's gotten to the point where too many calls are being called back or stayed the same. What is a gray area? What is not a gray area? Can you stay in the crease and touch the goalie and still be able to touch the puck? And that's not like it's just so confusing. Why not make it like it's done in the European League and just be done with it? That way everybody knows the rules. Don't touch the goalie. Don't be in the crease, no matter what. That's goalie interference. End of story. End of discussion.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you go back to 1999 where you can't have your toenail in the blue and then they would say, no goal, you were standing in the crease, even though
that would be awful.
Obstructing the goalie, right? There's one extreme and the other, but I have seen that extreme growing up, Caesar, and now I think it's at the far other end where you can come in and hook the goalie with your elbow, hook the goalie with your stick, and hook it on his end of his stick, and then play off of the goalie, still kind of be in the crease if you want to be, and just kind of hang out and lounge there. And then a goal can go in, and then they can look at it and they can determine, well, that goalie had a 0.7 second to reset. Therefore, he had a chance to make the save. Therefore, it's still a good goal. And you're kind of like, what? Like, how much time did he really have to reset there? Like, there used to be years back, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, the goalie would get a full 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds to reset. And if he didn't, it was, from what my call was, 90% of the time, even more, that goal would not stand. And now these teams are challenging and they're not even confident that it's going to work, but they're like, okay, I think this one we're going to have, like in the Anaheim game there in Ottawa. Even the announcers on the Ottawa Senators broadcast are like, yeah, I think this one's coming back. And it didn't. And Pat Verbeek talked about in the GM meetings about being irate about how that didn't stand. And we saw it in Florida this year. Pittsburgh and the Rangers had it happen in their game. Like, there is 4 or 5 clear examples of, like, what are we doing here on this call? And there's probably even more that you can find that you could kind of say are very tight calls and very judgment based, of like, where I would lean to the goalie. You should be able to protect the goalie. That's his area. That's his crease. I know I'm leader of the goaltending union, Caesar, but you got to let the goalie be able to play the puck. Now, if the goalie wants to come outside the crease and his heels are on the red, that are, outlining the crease, and you call it a goal, I'm even fine with that a little bit. If the guy's coming by to kind of make a play and he's not trying to make contact with the goalie, hey, I'm fine with some of that. But those are tough calls. Those are judgment calls. But some of these calls where the goalie is entrenched in the crease, and there is so much time and space for this player that bumped into the goalie, inadvertently or not, to get out of the way, and for the goaltender to be able to make a save and be able to see the puck. Like, it's not even happening, right? And it is frustrating. And they said it's going to come down to costing a team in the playoffs on one of these goaltender interference calls.
Yeah. And here's our boy, Jim Behringer. He has a little bit something to say about it. And let's get to listen to him real quick on his thoughts.
What's going on, everybody? Jim Behringer here, Nightcap Recap, Full Press NHL, NHLRumors.com, Special Team Media Group. The NHL GM meetings are continuing in Florida. A topic of conversation has been goaltender interference. It was a major talking point last year where GMs and teams, video coaches, wanted to understand what the league's thinking was when it came to goaltender interference. Where last year we didn't know what it was. Contact in the crease, incidental contact. They thought they had to figure it out, but again, it's rearing its ugly head. And it reared its ugly head after the GM's meetings last year, where we thought we ironed out everything. Seemed to be better for the GMs and the coaches and the video coaches understanding the rules, but it's gotten more confusing, especially go back Saturday night in Ottawa, the Tim Stützle interference with Ville Husso. He goes into the crease unimpeded, and he makes contact, and it's a similar play to what happened with Anthony Mantha and the Pittsburgh Penguins when Brian Rust scored. Mantha contacted Shesterkin's skate in the crease. They waved the goal off. Well, same thing happened here. But this time, the Situation Room deemed there wasn't enough video evidence to overturn the call on the ice, which was a goal, saying the goalie had the ability to play his position. Now, wrote an article this morning up on my Substack that the NHL should consider the IIHF rules, where it is you're in the crease, no matter what it is, incidental contact or not, that's no goal. And I think it will close a major gray area here in the game, because there's a lot of calls and you're asking former officials and you're listening to the broadcast and you're understanding the rules, you're trying to read these explanations that it seems to be changing game to game, situation to situation. Daniil Tarasov, Florida Panthers, had his glove whacked in the Buffalo Sabres game. Matthias Samuelsson knocks his glove before the shot comes from the point. Puck goes in. Tarasov makes an easy save, and they don't call goaltender interference. Yes, it happens outside the blue paint, but he deliberately put his stick into the glove to make sure that he couldn't save it. That's goaltender interference. Now, you don't want to call penalty. You don't want to say it's not a penalty, but it should be wiped off. Again, the easiest solution is if you, in the crease, incidental contact or not, how you get there, if you go there in there by yourself and you're not making an effort to get out and you hit the goaltender, no goal, automatic. Remember, IIHF, your feet are in the crease. They can blow the play dead. We used to have the in the crease rule. Nobody liked it. They got rid of it. Again, Brett Hull in Buffalo, we know what happened. Again, loose pucks are a different story. And again, if an attacking player cross-checks another player into the goaltender, should be no goal. So let me know your thoughts on that, and let's see if we can get it cleaned up.
Two things there, Caesar. Jim brings up 1999, as I mentioned there earlier. Two things. One thing off the top, just kind of funny side note. I'm wondering there if Jim is practicing at his rink in men's league, or if he just finished interviewing some New Jersey Devil players there. I was going to ask him on that. And number two, my point there, Nathan McKinnon going through the Edmonton Oilers crease there a couple weeks ago. He gets thrown out of the game. Darnell Nurse pushes him in there. Now, I don't think there was a goal scored on the play, but he gets a 5-minute major penalty because he's trying to go to the net and make a play. And then Darnell Nurse kind of bumps him and he runs into the goalie and knocks the goalie down. He gets tossed out of the game. So what are we doing here when it comes to crease plays, right?
If I'm a defenseman and I know he's going to get knocked out, I'm going to do that every time.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're not gonna call Darnell Nurse on the penalty, or just say, hey, the guy going in there has to be responsible. Yeah, to a degree. But if you're taken off your path by a guy nudging you, pushing you, kind of running into you, and Darnell Nurse wasn't even in a good position defensively, and then he gets thrown out of the game. So I don't know what they're doing with these crease plays right now.
I don't either. It's and like he mentioned, the Tarasov play, I thought that was a BS non-call. Tarasov was clearly interfered with trying to make the save. I don't agree where if you're in the blue paint, you got to wave it off. I don't agree because that's just too much. Players like Matthew Tkachuk, that's their game. And if we're going to stop that from happening, then, you know, the league wants goals, you know, and you want to be able to still be able to paddle in the paint.
But you
right?
can't have Matthew Tkachuk coming into the crease and then trying to hook a guy and trying to grab his stick or something there. Oh, it counts. You can't have that.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Right?
you're right. You're right. So,
Right? So there
but
has to be a line, and I think that's the line where you draw your stick, your elbow, your glove, any part of your body, your skate, and you're trying to hook the goalie or trying to intrude on the goalie, and you can see it clearly on the evidence and on the replay and all the angles that we get now, and then it still stands as a goal. Come on, right? Or
yeah,
having your stick above where the goalie has to be able to bring his stick or blocker down. You cannot be in that prism, that sphere, whatever you want to call it, his area to play the puck. You can't be in there, right?
yep.
Yeah,
No,
but I agree with you. I agree with you. There needs to be goals allowed, and you can't be calling things back to. But there has to be a measure of law and a measure of rules here when it comes to the crease stuff. Caesar, you want to move on here?
yeah. And another topic of discussion here, the playoff format. A lot of people, I know Biz from Spit and Chicklets has been adamant about it being best on best, the 1 through 8 format. Gary Bettman is very firm on his stance the way it is now on having the play format being the same and not changing it. So what do you think, Kirby?
No, I want to throw it to you first. I want to throw it to you first. You can read that or just talk about it. But what are your feelings on this?
I mean, so the NHL meetings, Gary Bettman defiant about playoff format, goalie interference debate here. So per Pierre de LeBron. Honestly, I would love the best on best because I think that's the best way to do it, right? It's we we don't have the rivalries in the divisions like we used to, and I think we've seen that in the last couple of years. Um, you know, I don't think the rivalry between Florida and who else here in our division. I mean, Tampa, yeah, they're still our heated rivalry, but these other teams, I don't see them having as a big rivalry as they used to. And also, too, like being able to have like one of the best records and then being knocked out by a team here early on. And, it's like, why are we playing all 82 games? Why are we playing for the best record and then being knocked out by one of these divisional teams?
It's just to jump in, Caesar. It's not going to be with the best team in hockey like the Boston Bruins, and then they're going to play someone at the bottom. Not most likely not. Of a team that's like, well, why are the Bruins playing them when they had the best regular season hockey? It was a team like the Panthers that had to pretty much get on fire down the stretch and get in. That's always going to be the case, like you said, 1 versus 8. The problem is it's a 2 versus 3, and the problem is if you look at the Central, it's a Dallas, Minnesota, or if Dallas passes Colorado, it's going to be now Colorado and Minnesota. People are like, oh, what a great first round matchup. But like, why are these two teams colliding in the first round when legitimately they could collide in the second round or maybe even the conference final if you have the 1 through 8 format of where, hey, they're the best team in the Western Conference and then the next best team is the second place team. Well, those two teams wouldn't match up to the conference final. It would be 1 versus 4 if you reseed and 2 versus 3. Or say there was an upset 1 versus 7 and then there would be a 2 versus 3 have you there. So I don't like it. I grew up on the 1 versus 8. I don't think that makes me biased to it. I think a lot of fans that haven't even experienced 1 versus 8 want to see 1 versus 8 because there shouldn't be a team from the Central Division in this first round this year getting knocked out when you're seeing in the Pacific Division, which we'll talk about the standings here in a second. These teams are limping in and barely getting in on some of these wild card teams that are in the Pacific Division right now, the top 3.
Yeah, exactly. So his stance says it didn't change at this week's NHL meetings, despite the pushback from some in the league. Gary Bettman's quote is, and I quote, "It gives a sensational first round, probably the best playoffs first round in any other sports," which I do agree. It does. Yeah. It does give a good first round impression. And then the GM for the Minnesota Wild is like, in my opinion, the second best team in the league shouldn't be playing the third best team in the league in the first round. Okay. And I agree.
Yeah, Ceaz, I want you to do an exercise here and get it ready on the screen. Pull up the standings for the East or the West, and you just read me the 1 versus 8, and like the top team in the conference versus the wild card team, and then go from the next best team to the 7th best record, the 3 to 6, and then the 4 to 5. Just do a little exercise here, and you ask me, is this an entertaining matchup or not? So pull it up.
So let's start from the East here. So Carolina's number 1 right now.
Okay, so this is the East you got pulled up here.
Yep,
in order?
this is the East.
Okay, so read it off to me.
So Carolina, Buffalo, Tampa, Pittsburgh, Montreal, Boston, Columbus, Detroit.
So in this format, the Islanders are just on the outside looking in here.
Yes, they're 1 point behind.
So we have Carolina and Detroit first round, right?
First round, yep. Buffalo against Columbus, second round.
Buffalo versus Columbus is an interesting matchup to me.
I think that's a really good matchup.
Tampa Bay, Boston?
Boston, Tampa Bay, that would be a rivalry matchup.
Well, there you get a rivalry matchup in the Atlantic Division where these teams battled when the Boston Bruins had Brad Marchand and they were going for Stanley Cups, best record in the NHL. Tampa Bay Lightning were coming through the beginning of their prime window there. I think they knocked off Boston once or twice. So you still have some of those guys on the team there. Not as many on the Bruins, Pasternak, but you still got guys there on Tampa Bay that have played against Boston. So that would be a rivalry renewed.
Let's kind of go back to the first matchup, Carolina versus New York Islanders. I honestly don't think the Islanders or Carolina will have that series in the bag because the Islanders play a physical game. And you know that Carolina struggles with that, especially with their center position.
Yeah, and Detroit's in a tough position here in whatever format you want to have of making the playoffs here with a little bit of their stumbling here down the stretch and other teams getting hot like Columbus that we see here. And the Islanders, if they get in, then they would play Carolina.
Or even Ottawa. Ottawa's only 3 points out. So
yeah, Carolina, Ottawa, that would be a hell of an entertaining matchup.
Yeah.
So I don't get Gary's point here on the entertainment factor. So in the East, we have 2 or 3 matchups as it's constituted right now that I would call entertaining. Now on the West,
let's go to the West now.
Let's do the exercise here and see if we can keep some good teams,
There we go. So the West, we have Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, Anaheim, Utah, Edmonton, Vegas, Nashville, and Los Angeles, Seattle looking in.
So Colorado and Nashville there. Now, yes. Nashville down the stretch here, you could constitute, okay, if they get in, they're a hot team. Now there's teams behind them that might try to jump over them. I don't know how much LA is going to have left in the tank. Seattle's slipping a little bit. San Jose has picked the worst time to get cold. I think they've lost their last 4 games.
Yes.
So I was hoping to see a Colorado.
Seattle and San Jose have lost a lot of games these weeks. They haven't had a good run here. It's kind of unfortunate too. Yeah. But look at St. Louis. St. Louis is making a run here towards the end. They're 7-1-2 in the last 10 games. They're only 5 points behind too, so they can make a run here as well.
Yeah, and Dallas is so close right now to Colorado there where they could get that number 1 seed. But you've got Dallas here playing Vegas. They've played each other in the playoffs before, I believe, on the crossover wild card division winner.
Yep. Edmonton and Minnesota.
That's a huge matchup, and that tests Edmonton right out of the gate where they got a tough opponent, and it rewards Minnesota for having a better regular season than the Edmonton Oilers. So why should the team be rewarded in the Pacific Division if they end up squeaking in and winning the division? Because it's not really that hard of a division to win right now. It's like, who wants it right now? Anaheim, Vegas, Edmonton, who wants it? So it rewards Minnesota for the great year that they've had where they don't have to go up against Dallas or Colorado. And you can't tell me Minnesota versus Edmonton wouldn't be an entertaining series. You have 2 of the most electrifying defensemen in the NHL, Evan Bouchard and Quinn Hughes, going up against each other. You have a legitimate superstar, Kirill Kaprizov, going up against if he's healthy, the 2 superstars in Edmonton, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. So again, you have this really a great matchup that we've yet to see this because of the playoff alignment. We're not going to probably see a matchup like this unless these 2 teams get to the Western Conference.
How about the 4th and 5th position? I think that's a good matchup in itself too. Anaheim and Utah, right? Yeah. Both of these making the playoffs for the first time. You've gotten two franchises here with the young players on both ends. Who wouldn't want to see that matchup? I know I would.
And you're rewarding those teams. How's it going, Antonio, there in the chat? You're rewarding these teams that have had a bit of a better year. So where Utah is, they're getting penalized because they're in a good division, Caesar. So they can't move up any further because if you can't catch Minnesota, Dallas, or Colorado, well, you're just automatically a wild card. And I have liked the wild card element. I don't want to crap on that. I think it's done us well as Panther fans.
Yeah.
But so like I like when a team gets in hot there and they challenge a team that's maybe, resting on their laurels a bit at the top, not playing their best hockey. You can get an entertaining matchup with the number 1 seed versus a number 1 wildcard team or a number 2 wildcard team that just squeaks into the playoffs. But this rewards Utah and Anaheim for having a little bit better seasons than probably what people suspected. And again, they might not finish here, as you can see. They might not finish in the 4 or 5 spot. But say if they do, Caesar, that's an entertaining matchup with 2 new teams to the playoff fray, and they're in the 4 or 5 spot. And if they win and everyone wins out, well, they're going to have to play the number 1 seed team in the second round.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a tough matchup next round. So it's not like this is just baked in. Oh, well, they get an easy ride here. This is how it should be. And you get entertaining new matchups here and new rivalries start. No one wrote in the NHL rule book, you need to be in the same division with a team to have a rivalry with them. We have a rivalry with the Carolina Hurricanes. Hell, we have a rivalry with the Edmonton Oilers.
I was going to say, I think we have more of a rivalry with Edmonton and Carolina than we do. Well, except Tampa. That's a different.
Yeah, that's always going to be there.
That's the in-state rivalry. But other than that, I don't think we have a rivalry with anybody else. But those teams outside of our division. So
yeah, no, I think we kind of broke it down good there. I wanted to do that exercise. We just did it off. I don't know if you want to answer Antonio here. He's always trolling because he wants Chicago to get that pick. I think we're firmly entrenched in the bottom 10, Caesar.
Oh yeah, I think
even Caesar, you're the eternal optimist. I think you're with me now.
No, as soon as Paul Maurice started substituting starters for players that are coming in from Charlotte, I was like, okay, I can't be throwing out videos and pumping this team up anymore. If the coaches
you're
are
in our
bagging
production chat. You're in our production chat, and you didn't crap on me. Sometimes you will, because you're like, Kirby, don't be such a Debbie Downer down against team. I said, guys, we're going on the Western Canadian road trip here. At the best of times, we're going to go 500. We might win 1 game on this trip. We might not win any games. And that's not going to put us in a position to make a playoff run here, which some of the people in our production chat, Caesar, behind the scenes, not everyone on camera, some of them are behind the scenes people, thought, we might have a chance here. And I had to nip that in the bud right away before this trip started, Caesar.
Antonio, this is probably the most frustrating thing you've ever seen. But you know what? Hey, I'm not the one who made that deal for Chicago. So if anybody should be mad, it should be you at the general manager.
Deal. I didn't make the conditional deal.
Yeah, so
they Antonio and all Hawks fans thought they won the deal from day one getting Spencer Knight. We saw that here in our chat.
Yeah.
We saw that here with Antonio. We can go back through that episode. Well, I know we're going to watch that episode again in the summer, the Seth Jones and Spencer Knight trade, because we put all the comments on the screen for a reason, everyone. We can go back and look at them. That's how we do the receipts in our community. We do that. We do that in our spaces on the audio side, but we can do it here in the chat. So, hey, and I'm not right all the time either. Coming into the year, I thought we would be wild card 1, wild card 2, but that was with the Barkov injury, not the accumulation of all the other stuff. I was like, okay, Barkov injury, Kachuk comes back in December. You have 1 or 2 other injuries, not 8, 9, 10 injuries.
Yeah, and it all went downhill when Seth Jones went out. I felt like the team was floating above water, and I think as soon as Seth Jones went out, the team, general manager, ownership probably like, let's not make a deal just to make a deal. Let's see what happens after the Olympic break. Reinhardt's dealing with some nagging injuries. Marchand's dealing with some nagging injuries. You see that he's out for the year now, being put on LTIR. So yeah, it's very frustrating as a fan seeing this, but at the same time, you understand what they're doing. It's going to be interesting here the next couple of weeks to see how many games we end up winning. I did say that, I think we talked about it last night, you, Nick, and I, I think we have 13 games left. You said we would go what?
4-9. I think I kind of
4-9, right?
somewhere around there.
I went 3-8. So
Or 3 and
or
10.
3
3 and 10.
3-10. I'm sorry, 3-10. Nick said we would go.
I think he was at 5. Was he?
5. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 and what is it? 8.
5 and 8. Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see. I think we'll be in the top 10. So we'll have that top 10 pick.
I think if you're winning 3-4 hockey games here.
Yeah. And we could even be all the way down to, the 6th place position.
Yeah, I think that's as low. I don't know if we'll get down to bottom 5, bottom 4. I think maybe bottom 6 would be kind of a spot there that the Panthers could sell. You never know, but again, the Rangers, Flames, Canucks are pretty far down there. Antonio, Chicago Blackhawks. Winnipeg's trying to win some hockey here and play some winning hockey. They got a point today in overtime against Pittsburgh on Saturday here. But again,
and look, right now we're 23rd. So, and we're tied with Seattle. We're tied with Toronto. We're only a few points behind San Jose, 1 point behind. They win one more game, and they got a game in hand too. So,
yeah,
they could jump over us here in the next couple.
I don't know how some of those teams stacked with Florida there are not like 5-6 points ahead of them right now. I don't understand that when they're trying to play competitive hockey, playoff hockey in the Western Conference, and they're not helping themselves. Like I said, with San Jose losing their last 4 straight games here, and their schedule doesn't get much easier over the next 3. They might have one kind of cupcake game, and then they've got 2 or 3 other games that are going to challenge them. So,
and St. Louis is still battling for that last playoff spot too. So,
yeah, that's funny that they kind of got into that for. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe they finish ahead of the Panthers, the Blues. But yeah, the Rangers, Canucks, Flames, teams down there. Yeah, we'll see where they finish out, but maybe bottom 6, bottom 7 in that range. And again, that gives the Panthers a very good chance of lottery odds, and then most likely keeping their pick here in this conditional trade. Caesar, I do want to mention here at the bottom, you guys see on the screen right now, our new account run by our moderator Ryan over on the Twitter X platform, Cats and Rats Pod. Again, that's on Twitter X. We have all of our other handles there on the screen scrolling across. We'll put our Instagram there as well. Guys, make sure you're following those Instagram stuff. Caesar's always got great stuff going on his page. We're going to have lots of hockey stuff over there in the off season when you guys aren't finding content elsewhere. Like, we're always producing content and putting stuff over on our social medias. Caesar?
Yep. Let me find the page so that way everybody can follow us on our new Instagram or not Instagram, X page here. So let me share that with everybody here on the screen. Okay.
Ryan's putting our content out there. So if you guys are following on the community side, if you guys are members too, and you are over on X or over on Instagram, make sure you guys are in our group chats there as well.
So follow us at the Cats and Rats Pod on X, Cats and Rats Pod on X.
Yes. Appreciate that. Caesar, before we go tonight, any announcements or anything on your end?
Oh my gosh. I am very excited. So before we get to the big announcement coming up, yesterday I went to the Relay for Life here at Pembroke Pines Charter School. Shouts out to Matthew Kachuk and his mom. Ended up donating to the American Cancer Society for my team.
Nice.
And everybody else who donated too. I really appreciate you guys. That really means a lot to me and a lot of the survivors, and especially those who are battling cancer now. Not only does this money help for research, but it helps for chemotherapy, radiation, for programs that people need that can't afford it. And, sometimes we don't have the privilege to have medical insurance. So these programs do help a lot. And so being able to be in the Relay for Life in Pembroke Pines and help out for an amazing cause was really, really awesome. Shouts out to Cameron and Shauna for taking me out there. Shauna's, our Cameron's mom, Marcy, she's the one who organized our team. We were the Team Divas. We ended up wearing jerseys with the number 28 on it. It was really cool. And I believe also there was I believe I shared it on X where there was I ended up throwing a football, Kirby. I don't know. What did you think of
Yeah,
my throw there?
you're a lefty. You're a lefty like me. We should replace the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, we're recording.
Quarterbacks, Tua and your guy there. I can't remember his name, the Atlanta guy.
Tua and who's the guy now in Atlanta? They're both in Atlanta, right?
The young guy. I don't know. I don't remember.
Penix. Yeah,
Penix. There we go. They're both lefties, right? Like us.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play the video, show people a little bit of my football skills. So I used to play all-time quarterback back in the day.
Okay.
And I used to be the all-time Q, and I'm a lefty.
Okay, we're recording.
All right, boy. Lefty. I'm a lefty.
You're a lefty?
I think Shauna was surprised I was a lefty.
4.
So I got 4 shots.
So it wasn't 3, it was 4 all along.
Aw.
Nice to see Cam again.
Oh. Come on.
You got some good zip.
Can you get a little closer?
Hey, I got that pretty good spiral.
Yeah. And you don't even turn the wheel.
Oh.
Right in. There we go.
Wow, 4th time's a charm. Sign them, Dolphins.
Little shot at Tua there at the end.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it was so much fun. Shouts out to the Relay for Life there at Pembroke Pines. A lot of people, it was so much fun because a lot of people had like gift baskets, games to play. All this money goes to the American Cancer Society. Ended up seeing Christina there, who's in charge of the Broward area region of the American Cancer Society, who have been helping Bill Zito and the Zito family with the Panthers on the prowl. So we ended up taking a picture together. It's so good to like see these people, you know, being able to help each other out and, you know, trying to give recognition to as well as those people who lost their lives. So each person that's been affected got to put a bag out there on the walk that we did on the track. So I had their bag with their picture on it, and I thought that was really awesome too. So I was really excited about that.
Yeah, I've been involved in a cancer event here.
Yeah.
A few years back, and yeah, it's nice for all the help and different outreach and different people that you meet and different connections you make and things like that. I actually organize my team, and it does take some organization when you're trying to organize people to come in from out of town and put your team together and stuff like that. So great to hear that it went off. Great there, Caesar, and a lot of money was raised, and a lot of connections were made, and hope for more there. You can put that in the show notes. I know you have it on your page there and stuff like that.
Yep, and you guys can still donate. It'll be on my X page on there as well, so you guys can follow the link on there. Donate to our team, and a lot of that money does go to the American Cancer Society. But anyways, now the biggest news that I have, Big Ceaz will be interviewing the legend, the one and only Panther idol that I have, and I'm honestly going to be starstruck when this happens. John Vanbiesbrouck will be on the Big Ceaz show this Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and he will be live. So if you guys want to tune in live, be sure to subscribe on the Big Ceaz show. Kirby will be on there moderating. I will be posting tomorrow a post, so put your questions in there. I will be picking 3 questions from our social media platforms I'm honestly, I'm still in shock. This is going to be such a great interview. He's the reason why I became a Panther fan. And I know you, Kirby, you love John Vanbiesbrouck. You have his goalie mask. You have a couple of things of his. And, man, this is going to be fun because if those of you that don't know who John Vanbiesbrouck is, he does not do podcasts. So I feel honored to do this with him. And as soon as I asked him, he was quickly to jump on board, and I can't thank him enough.
Yeah, I told you the other day I've got his mini masks and all that in my room. I have a framed photo of him still that I bought. It's not signed or anything, but framed photo that I found at a local store here. And when I tell you, find Panther stuff back in the day was nearly impossible. And it's a nice framed art piece that I still have in my room. And I wore batting gloves underneath my blocker and catcher because that's what John Vanbiesbrouck did. And I was a baseball player and a hockey goaltender on the side, I'll say. But I was a competitive baseball player, and I played goalie in the springtime, summertime, whenever I could in the winter. And I would wear the batting gloves underneath my blocker and catcher because of John Vanbiesbrouck. But I also found it gave me good traction, and I was very good with my catcher and catching that ball. And it was just like having, as a first baseman, I wear my batting glove underneath my first base glove, right? And I would always do that as a baseball player. So it was just a natural kind of thing to do as a goaltender. But I would have never found out about doing something like that if not for John Vanbiesbrouck. And I saw him during that 96 run take off his gloves and wave to the camera. I'm like, man, he's wearing batting gloves underneath there. That's interesting. So that's something you might have to ask him
Yes.
on Monday night.
No, definitely. And for those of you who don't know John Vanbiesbrouck, he was only 5'8".
Yeah.
So him and Brodeur were like one of the very short goaltenders in the league. And for him to be at such a premier level, and, you know, he ended up playing with I believe, the Rangers for a few years. I think he started off his career at New York.
Yeah, Mike Richter, another smaller size goalie with New York. He shared the net with him.
Yep.
Before he came a Florida Panther through the expansion draft there, which you'll have to ask him about.
Yeah, no, and so, you know, him helping Team USA win the gold medal Olympics this year, creating the team there. You know, just, you know, I'm really excited to get to, you know, shoot the shit with him and talk to him about hockey, talk to him about, you know, life in general, what he's doing now, and, you know, get to know who he really is. And it's going to be exciting. I'm excited.
Yep, I'm excited for you, Caesar. It's gonna be a fun night. So looking forward to that. Make sure you guys are following the Big C's channel. It's below there on the bottom of the screen, rolling on the ticker there. The ticker should be running. It runs on your channel too, right, Caesar?
Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
Both. Yep. So, and if you're on my channel, you guys follow the Cats and Rats podcast as well. You guys know they are one of the best, the only podcast you should be watching for Florida Panther content.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to have a new episode here. We've been so busy with the live stuff and the post-game stuff. We're a little behind on the podcast episodes, but we're trying to get guests down the road here, especially with a longer off season. So we're working on guests, but we're going to get an episode put together here, the guys on the Cats and Rats here. And my schedule too, I appreciate everyone that has been filling in for me this week and future weeks down the road here. Pretty busy schedule on my end on some of the nights that the Panthers play hockey. So appreciate everyone being by and contributing on these post-game show, whether you're co-host, producer, or community guest. I appreciate all of you guys filling in. Appreciate you filling in this week as well, Caesar.
No, I really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to Glenn Heffernan, who made this all happen with John Vanbiesbrouck. He is the USHL president and commissioner, and he's been here in Florida with Vanbiesbrouck with the GM meetings and stuff. So, you know, sent him a message last week, and he's like, yeah, John would love for you to be on your podcast. And, you know, I ended up talking about him on my speech that I won last week for my award. Yep. So, you know, it's going to be awesome. And I just wanted to say thank you to Glenn. Really appreciate you making me the connection with him. So, yeah, I'm excited to, and thank you, Kirby, for allowing me to come in and fill in here tonight. And,
of course, yeah. This is your show. This is your show, just like mine. This is our brainchild.
We started this show, right? 2 years ago now.
Yeah, and I know our schedules can't always match up with your work schedules, but I'm like, we got to get you on here for certain shows when we make our predictions in the playoffs. And
we were able to get it done today because of March Madness. Thank God. I know your bracket's not doing too well, and I know Die Hard's giving you crap about it too. So.
Yeah, but not doing well this year. Not one of my better years for March Madness. And I wanted to use March Madness as escape from hockey this year, but no, hasn't been a good weekend.
It just hasn't been good for our
It's just what it is, right? But hey, I can't complain too much as back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So I haven't never been in that spot in my life. Champion.
And isn't it weird this is the first year we'll be out of the playoffs since 2019.
Yeah, like it's going to be a weird feeling because we've had these runs of playoffs even through the COVID bubble and stuff like that. So it's been a while as Panther fans here, going back.
I think we're a little bit spoiled there for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think all of us, whether we're OG fans or new fans especially, but all of us, we're in the same boat here. Like, yeah, I'm not going to have playoff hockey here. So, but we'll keep busy here on the Cats and Rats channel with some live streams, and I know you're going to jump by for those, Caesar.
Yep, no, for sure. And, just keep updated with our social media. We'll always be on here for you guys. Is there anything else?
No, Caesar, you can hit the button here, but on the way out, we will have Cody and Nick joining us back here this week. We look forward to having them back here. Appreciate all their work this week, as well as Caesar and everyone behind the scenes. Our moderator, Ryan, doing a lot of great stuff. Ryan's going to be debuting our intro video for our post-game show coming up here. So hopefully we'll have that here in the coming week or so. But as always, on the way out, as we always say, let's go Cats.
One shift at a time, one period at a time, one game at a time. Let's go, baby.